He was described by police as homeless and mentally deranged. New York has been the second city when it comes to the world's tallest skyscrapers since 1974, but it may regain first place. Developer Donald Trump today announced plans to build an office and residential tower which would loom 150 stories above Manhattan's west side. That would be 40 stories taller than Chicago's Sears Tower, which took over first place from New York's World Trade Center 11 years ago. In a moment, Bruce Morton on new wave Soviet media, old wave ideology for the summit, and at home.
The dollar is higher against other major currencies, and Wall Street opens this morning with the Dow Industrial Average at 29.12. The Dow lost slightly more than 8 points on Friday. Donald Trump's real estate empire is a bit smaller this morning. Yesterday, the real estate magnate put more than 60 Palm Beach condos on the auction block. He was selling off the property as part of his effort to pay his bills. The auction raised more than $15 million in less than 4 hours. Baseball's all-time stolen base record was tied yesterday by Oakland's Rickey Henderson. Rickey got stolen base number 9.
You might just consider our next story to be a unique artifact of the 80s, the Donald before the fall. It's a conversation with Donald Trump, literally just hours, we believe, before he told his wife Ivana that their marriage was over. Just days before the name Marla Maples tickled the tongues of gossip columnists around the country. And only weeks before the Trump financial empire began to crack. What did Donald Trump know as he bravely strutted through our interview? What was to be his last public attempt to be invincible? Knowing what we know now, his answers are pretty interesting. See what you think.
If you called up somebody else that you've never even heard of who's got great wealth and said, I want to do an interview, number one, they'd be afraid to do it. Number two, they wouldn't want to do it. Number three, they wouldn't know how to do it. And number four, they're probably right.
They're probably right?
They're probably right.
What do you mean they shouldn't?
Well, I think there's a nice safety net in not doing it. I mean, there's no reason to expose yourself to millions of people.
But you know why you do it?
Why? Tell me.
You love the publicity.
Oh, I hate the publicity.
Oh, come on, get out of here.
I'm telling you, I hate the publicity.
Oh, please.
I hate it, and except for the fact that it's fun as a sparring session, I mean, this would normally not even be fun. This is fine, and this is fun, and all that stuff, but I don't like it.
No, you're on all these covers of Playboy, Fame. I mean, what is it, Newsweek or Time?
It happens to be, well, both. It happens to be good for what I do.
What Donald Trump does, of course, is make a lot of money and make sure everybody knows it. A yacht, a mansion, a bigger mansion, an airline, 2 casinos, a bigger casino.
That is really incredible. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like this place.
By now, his possessions are more familiar to us than what we have hanging in our own closets. His buildings, well, you know which ones they are.
I sell very great condominiums in New York. I have the best casinos in the world.
Great.
They're the
Come
best.
On.
What,
They're
in Trump Tower?
Best. Maybe if you can try and answer this question without giving me the normal spiel. Huh?
What is the normal spiel? I don't know.
Well, the normal spiel is, well, the fact is that many rich and powerful people do try to remain anonymous, but you became very public very clearly by your own design.
I don't know if it was by my own design.
You mean the publicity?
I do developments which get a lot of publicity. I mean, if I didn't do Trump, I mean this. If Trump Tower weren't a great building on 5th Avenue and 57th Street by a young guy...
Trump Tower is one building in New York City with zillions of buildings.
Trump Tower was built by a young guy in a very important location. No, I don't think it was by design, though. I think that it happened,
this is so
but I don't
innocent.
No, I want to be innocent. I've always wanted to be innocent. My entire life has been devoted to being innocent.
Is it little Donald?
But I don't know that it was by design. Did I once call you and ever say, Connie, we have to do an interview, we have to do this, it's great, it's going to be the greatest thing?
Okay, Donald Trump didn't call us, but he did do this interview just before an avalanche of publicity about his marriage descended on the empire he worked so skillfully to build.
Is it true about it?
The invincibility of the Trump name is now bombarded by gossip about secret liaisons and bedroom prowess. And the success of Trump the man is now the stuff of prenuptial pacts. Overnight, it seems, America turned from a fascination with what Trump has to what he could lose.
Do you wish we'd all go away?
Absolutely.
What is the most important thing in your life?
I think, generally speaking, family, I think that, I think it's very important. Stability. I like to say continued economic success. You would always say the most important thing would be health for yourself and the people around you and the people that you love, because that's ultimately the most important thing.
Do you have a best friend?
Well, I have so many different friends, and it would be hard to say a best friend.
Is your wife Ivana a best friend?
She's a great friend. I have a father who's a great friend.
I mean, is there somebody that you really confide in?
I tend not to confide. I really tend not to confide. I'm very closed in that sense. Now, I think that's my own, maybe, guarded mechanism.
Is it that you don't trust people?
I don't trust people, no. I'm a non-trusting person. I trust members of my family. I trust people that are very close to me.
But you know what? They also say you should never go into business with members of your family.
Oh, I agree with that. Going into business with family members is either the best or the worst. There's no in between.
Well, your brother, Robert, is...
Robert does a great job, and Ivana runs the Plaza Hotel, and she's doing a beautiful job.
So, but you just said to me that you don't think that family members should.
No, I generally think it's not a good policy.
But it works
I also
in your
think
family?
it works in my family, and I also think it's a great policy if it does work. When for some reason it doesn't work out, there can be nothing worse.
Well, how do you know it isn't going to go sour?
I don't. You never do.
What may sour on Donald Trump is that beautiful job he says his wife Ivana has done with the plaza. How beautiful? And how much could that be worth in any divorce settlement? Trump, family, and business have been together for a while. His start in real estate was with his father, himself a millionaire developer in Brooklyn and Queens. His older brother Fred was also in the business for a short time. He died at 43, the same age Donald is now.
I've seen people confide in the wrong people, and it's really been devastating.
But do you
And
think
again,
that
I don't say
stemmed
that
from
as a
when you were
positive.
kid? Do you think when you were a kid?
Well, I
did
think
you
it
have-
stems from the fact that I had a brother who was an extraordinary guy. He was an absolutely brilliant personality. He was handsome, he was wonderful, people loved him, he was nice, he confided to everybody. He was truly a nice human being, and people took advantage of him. And I saw what they did to my brother, and I didn't like it.
He gave of himself 100%.
He totally gave. He totally gave of himself, and he gave of himself to other people. He absolutely did. And I tend to be just the opposite.
There's a marvelous innocence about that, though, isn't there?
There's something very beautiful about it. Unfortunately, when you're growing up in New York City and you're dealing with some of the great sharks of the world, especially in the real estate business, it's not very good. It was very bad in a business sense. He was taken advantage of.
But he didn't want to go into business anyway.
He didn't want to. You're absolutely right. He didn't want to. He should not have, and perhaps it was my fault and perhaps my father's fault for egging him on into business because he wasn't good at it because he didn't like the business. And
you also encouraged him to go into business?
I did. I don't like to think too much about what happened with Fred. With Fred, it was an alcohol problem, and it ultimately, all of what I'm saying led to alcoholism, and that indirectly just killed him. Fred used to tell me when I was very young, don't ever smoke, don't ever smoke, don't ever drink. See, he had these problems. He knew what the problems were. He couldn't solve them for himself, but he tried to solve them for me.
Donald Trump doesn't smoke and doesn't drink. He gets by on 4 or 5 hours of sleep and gets up before dawn for a day that may end with as many as 4 social events a night.
I think I'm relatively happy. I'm content, certainly. I'm not a man that walks around smiling and telling everybody I'm happy, here I am. But I'm a pretty content guy.
Everybody's life is not perfect. What's missing in yours? What's wrong with yours?
I really don't like to think about what's missing. You know, if you get into what's missing, you don't appreciate what you have. And
well,
you can also say...
There must be a little something that's wrong with it, because it's always something.
I'm always looking for more excitement in life. I look at life as one time, here we are, it's a one-time go-around. I'm always looking for more excitement. Oftentimes, I would not consider my life to be the most exciting life in the world, and probably the world would tell me I'm crazy, because I think the world's perception of me and my life is much different than that.
Is it meeting someone who impresses you?
No, it's not meeting someone, it's doing something, it's achieving something, it's the thrill of doing. When I buy the Plaza Hotel, to me that's exciting, because it's a trophy, it's a total trophy. When I build Trump Tower, or when I build the Taj Mahal,
Yeah, but you know, it sounds like baubles. You understand
but
that?
It's exciting, and part of the reason it's exciting is because they're mega deals, they're important deals, they're glamorous deals, everybody talks about them, everybody reads about them and writes about them. There's a level of importance there that I think also somewhat turns me on.
Yeah, but how is it important? It's not socially redeeming. It's
well, you
not
can say that,
something,
but in actuality, thousands and thousands of people are put to work. Millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of taxes are paid.
Building luxury hotels, luxury casinos.
But Connie,
you know,
all of
it's
that
sort
money,
of the rich stuff and all.
I know. And I've also done non-luxury. I've done a lot of low-income housing. I've done a lot of senior citizens
That was
housing.
a long time ago. It was back in 74.
You've read my past.
Yeah, when you were working with your father.
But the truth is, whether I build a Trump Tower or whether I build senior citizens housing, I think Trump Tower in many respects is, and I'm very proud of the senior citizens housing I built.
Long time ago, though.
Doesn't
Not
matter.
recently.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Now,
Not recently.
Connie,
No, since you've made your Manhattan Trump millions, you're up to $1 billion, more than $1 billion now.
I hope so. And
Right.
so what are you asking me?
So I'm asking you, why not do more of that?
Well, let me ask you, I do a book, and I give millions of dollars from the book. The book turned out to be like the biggest book of the year, and I give all of that money to charity. I do a game show. I do the Woolman skating rink where the city incompetently for 7 years can't open a
It's a
rink.
skating rink. Come
It's
on,
a very important
skating
thing.
rink.
It's a
No,
part
but
of
it's
society. It's an
fun. I mean,
important
a
thing.
skating rink.
You
It's
know,
a skating rink.
Sure, it's a skating rink, but in the meantime, you had half of New York City going crazy because they didn't have their little skating rink.
Do you really feel like a philanthropic person?
I feel very philanthropic. I
Do
really
you?
do. And I'm a
Really?
young guy.
You know, people don't believe that.
Oh, I think people believe it. See, it
You
gets
have-
to a point where some people can never be satisfied, Connie. Perhaps you're one of those people.
Actually, Trump himself never seems quite satisfied until he spots the next deal on the horizon. Why did you buy the plaza?
Why did I buy it? Because it would have driven me crazy if anyone else owned it.
Why?
Because I'm looking at it every day. How would I feel if somebody else owned it? Wouldn't that be a horrible feeling? You come to your office, you're looking at the most beautiful building that I've ever seen, the Plaza Hotel, and somebody else owns it. I'd feel guilty, so I had to buy it.
But I look out on buildings all the time and I don't want to own them.
Well, it's a different mindset.
If the San Francisco Bridge were outside your window, would you say, I want to own that too?
No, I guess not.
But what about the other part of his life? His family, his 3 children.
I try and spend as much time with them as possible. And I think that's important. And I think they see, and I think they also understand that my life is different and they're at an age now where they understand it. But I really spend, I think, as much time as you can spend under the circumstances in which I live.
You're able to peel away from work for dinner?
Absolutely, I have to. I mean,
Every night?
If my son calls me, as an example, I'll always take his call no matter what I'm doing. I mean, I'll always take his call. I always feel that it's very important to be really with their children. The
Your
children
son,
are
Donald
special.
Jr.?
Donald Jr., any one of my children. If
You
any
mean
one of
the
my
other two?
children, if any one of my children call, I'll always take their call, no matter what I'm doing.
I know that your parents brought you up with a good set of values. I know that your sister had said that, and that your mother was a homemaker. Your children are growing up in an entirely different kind of family.
Right.
Do you think it is the family you want them to grow up in? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think I have a choice. I mean, it's a family that's, it's a good family, it's a good life. I think when Ivanka, I often say, looks at
Your daughter.
Mar-a-Lago, my daughter, and she walks into the halls of Mar-a-Lago, which is a home in Palm Beach, that I bought in all fairness as an investment. But I
More
happen
than
to use
100
it.
rooms.
Yeah, and when she looks, and it's magnificent. You see this little girl, and she looks up, and she says, you know, and I just wonder what she must be thinking, because it can't be a normal situation. But I think maybe it's as normal as it's going to get. I think she takes it for granted, perhaps, and maybe that's good or maybe it's not good. But to her, it's a normal situation.
Don't you think it's probably not good?
I don't know. I'll tell you about it in 20 years after they grow up. I can't tell you now.
You could prevent yourself from buying the home in Palm Beach or the Khashoggi yacht,
But I
and
do
then
it-
your children wouldn't be exposed to this
Yeah.
extraordinary, ostentatious wealth.
Well, I don't know what ostentatious means. I mean, the Mar-a-Lago is considered architecturally one of the great places of this continent.
But you know what I'm
The
talking
yacht
about.
is considered, but let me tell you, I don't do it for that reason. I do it as an investment. I mean,
know,
I buy
but
the yacht.
aren't you concerned about the effect on your children?
Well, no, because I don't think it has an effect. I think the effect on the children is seeing good parents or seeing this or seeing that. I don't think the effect on the children is whether they go into a big yacht or a small yacht or a
Yacht at
regular
all.
boat or something else, or whether it's a big house or a small house. I think that's not. I mean, there are very many unhappy children that have a one-bedroom apartment, that live in a one-bedroom apartment with their parents. And
I know, but you know what I'm talking about.
No,
the
I
kids
understand
are gonna
it,
get
but I
on-
do
the
it as
kids
an
go
investment.
on the yacht, don't they?
sure, they go on it, but very seldom. But I do it as an investment. I don't need necessarily to live like this. I could be very happy living in a one-bedroom apartment.
So
believe me.
why don't you, just for the heck
I
of
might
it?
try it. I mean, maybe one of these days we'll give it a shot.
You're 43, you have a wife and 3 children, a lot of buildings, a lot of debt. Have you gone through your midlife crisis yet?
I think I've gone through my midlife crisis. I really feel good about the way things are.
You have? You've gone through the, but I mean, a midlife crisis is
well,
very
I'm saying I don't
man.
think it's been a traumatic period for me. I mean, you know, I think men do have a midlife crisis. I don't think from my standpoint it's been a particularly traumatic period.
No?
Maybe I haven't been there yet, because I'm not sure that I'm really at midlife yet. I hope I'm not. So maybe I haven't been there yet. I'll make you a deal. If I do go through a midlife crisis, I'll call you. I'll let you know. It'll be very exciting.
He never called. So much for that. Well, several months after his breakup with Ivana, estimates of his net worth were cut in half by Forbes magazine. Then Trump defaulted on bonds used to finance his Atlantic City casinos. And then a bank bailout forced him to go on a monthly allowance. Word now is that his airline, his Palm Beach mansion, among other possessions, may be up for sale.
Real estate tycoon Donald Trump says he may run for the Reform Party's presidential nomination. Trump is being prodded by backers of Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura. They see Trump as a better choice than Republican Pat Buchanan, who says he may switch to the Reform Party. Turning to this morning's weather, take a look at this incredible close-up satellite.